Welcome back to Boilers and Beyond. I'm Jordan Jones. The NCAA Tournament is here. It is one of the best weeks of the year on the calendar. We are just a couple of days away from Thursday and Friday as the country dials into college basketball, and the Boilermakers are playing their best basketball, fresh off of a Big Ten tournament championship and looking to make a deep run into the NCAA Tournament. We are going to preview Purdue's matchup with Queens here today. We will talk about Purdue's potential second-round opponents, should it get past the Royals on Friday night. We'll talk about the West region, what Purdue's doing right now, all of that here. A jam-packed episode to get you set for the NCAA Tournament. If you don't already, come follow the show on Twitter at BoilersBeyond. There's a lot of good conversation going on over there. Come join it. You can always send me questions for the show. They're on Twitter at BoilersBeyond. You can email me, boilersandbeyondpod@gmail.com. And be sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts so that you don't miss an episode. Coming at you every week. We'll be here all the way deep into the off season on a weekly basis. And we have a bracket challenge once again this year, the Boilers and Beyond Bracket Challenge. It's open. It's Boilers and Beyond on ESPN's Tournament Challenge. I will link the link to join in the show notes of this, and the winner will get the chance to come on the podcast for a summer episode. Last year, Tennessee Troll won. I gave him plenty of chances, but I don't think he listened to the podcast. So whoever wins this year will come on if you want. Don't have to by any means, and do a little summer episode and talk some Purdue sports. So come join that bracket challenge. Link is in the show notes. Purdue versus Queens, Friday, a 7:35 p.m. Eastern tip-off on True TV. The double-edged sword a little bit. You know, you're happy that it's a nice primetime slot. Don't have to worry about watching it during work or anything like that. But at the same time, if you're a Purdue fan, it's a long wait. It's a long wait to that Friday at 7:35 because you watch all day on Thursday, you watch all afternoon on Friday, and then finally it's your team's time to shine. So a 7:35 p.m. tip-off. It's on True TV, the 1 week of the year where you remember that True TV exists. Get that fired up for this one. A little bit about Queens, because this is not a program that a lot of folks are going to have familiarity with. Queens won the Atlantic Sun Conference Tournament. It's 21-13 overall, 13-5, good for third place in the Atlantic Sun in the regular season, but the Royals won the conference tournament to get the automatic bid out of that league. It's only Queens' fourth year in Division I, which is why you may not be too familiar with Queens. This is the first, and it will be the last, NCAA tournament appearance for Queens University, because it is merging with Elon University at the end of this year. And if you are like Oscar Clough and thought this school was in New York, try again. It's in Charlotte. I guess Charlotte is the Queen City, along with Cincinnati. So this is why it's called Queens. I'm not going to sit here and gaslight you into thinking that I'm some expert on Queens basketball. I don't know if I watched a single Atlantic Sun game all year. So here's what I'll tell you. You look at the numbers, you look at the metrics. It's a strong offensive profile that Queens has. It's a top 80 offense on KenPom, which at face value isn't crazy, but you do have to remember that KenPom is opponent adjusted. So, Queens didn't play some murderer's row of a schedule. It is, where'd schedule strength go on here? It's 200th nationally in strength of schedule. It did play a good non-conference slate. We'll get to some of those results here in a bit, but that's a really nice offense. This is a team that does execute well on the offensive end. Its effective field goal percentage is 15th in the country, so that's a stat that takes into account whether you're shooting twos or threes and kind of adjusts it based on the number of points that you're trying to score. That's a really good number. It doesn't turn the ball over very much. It shoots a lot of threes. It has one of the highest three-point rates in the country. So if you look at what Queens is going to want to do, it's going to want to shoot a lot of threes. It is interesting, though, outside of Queens' home arena, it is below a 34% three-point shooting team. That's not unusual, but that is a decent drop-off. It's a 36% shooting team overall, so you would figure it's 5-6 points better on its home floor. Something to monitor there. Obviously, a very volatile style of basketball. When you shoot a lot of threes, when they go in, you're in games. When they don't, you're not. It's very balanced on offense. 6 guys average between 10 and 13 points a game. Yasir Mann leads the team in scoring and rebounding as a 6'5 guard. Not a big three-point shooter. He was their conference tournament MVP. There's a fellow Israeli for Omer Meyer on the floor. He was excited about that. Yoav Berman scores a good deal for him. He shoots a lot of three-pointers, but he's not a very good three-point shooter. 29% on the season. They've got this guy, Chris Ashby. He's a smaller guard. Put up 30-plus in the conference tournament championship game. And then I'm familiar with Carson Schwieger. He's their top three-point shooter at 6'9". He's a Valparaiso transfer. And a lot of you know I watch a lot of Valparaiso basketball. I've got a lot of family that went there, played sports there. So I keep in touch with VU pretty well. I never would have seen him as this level of three-point shooter, but that is something to watch for Purdue. You have to match up with a 6'9 guy who can step out and shoot, and that's almost all he does. He has taken... where'd he go here? He's taken 217 three-pointers and only 41 two-pointers, so he's almost entirely likely to shoot three-pointers. The big thing to watch here, though, defensively, Queens' metrics are terrible. They are 322nd nationally per KenPom. This is a group that doesn't force a lot of turnovers. They allow a ton of offensive rebounds. Queens fouls quite a bit. And if you're Purdue, that's what you're looking at here. You're looking at a team that is prone to getting in foul trouble, especially on the interior, that allows a ton of offensive rebounds. And you've seen Purdue really feast on that at times this year. You think about the Nebraska game. You think about the Big Ten tournament here where Purdue was dominant on the glass. Opponents get a lot of their own misses against Queens. Teams shoot really well from both three-point range and two-point range. They get close to the basket. It's not a particularly good Queens defense. Could be a little bit of a clash of styles here because Queens does like to play up-tempo on offense, but it's hard when you're not forcing a lot of turnovers to do that. Kind of interesting. But when you look at what Queens did against high major competition, it played 5 games against power conference opponents this year. None of them were within 20 points. The closest one was a 20-point loss to Villanova. This group lost by 41 to Auburn, 38 to Miles Colvin and Wake Forest, 25 to Virginia, and 28-point loss to Arkansas. Queens won 2 games this year against top 200 opponents in KenPom. Those are the most recent wins for Queens in the conference tournament semifinals and finals against Austin Peay and Central Arkansas. Again, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I know a ton about this group because I really don't. I think the long story short, the too long didn't read summary here, Queens shoots a lot of threes. And if it makes a bunch of them, that could keep this thing interesting. If it doesn't, if it's missing a lot and Purdue's holding Queens to one shot and Purdue's able to execute offensively the way it's executed all season, then there's a lot to like about Purdue's chances here. KenPom has Purdue favored by 22. I didn't fact check this, but one of my buddies texted me a little bit ago, said that line is up to 25.5 on the betting markets. KenPom gives Purdue a 98% win expectancy. Our guy Evan Miyakawa gave Purdue over a 99% win expectancy. So Purdue will look to pick up where it left off and continue rolling against what should be an overmatched Queens team, but one that will be eager to get out and let it rip. And then if Purdue can win that matchup, then it gets the winner of Miami versus Missouri. Some familiar faces on the Miami side. Malik Renew, the Indiana transfer, was an all-conference player this year. He was excellent for Miami, scored over 18 points a game, shot well from three-point range. Great first-year turnaround. Jay Lucas did a great job there. Came over from Duke, where he was an assistant. Miami only won 7 games last year in Jim Laranaga's final season, and they went 25-8 this year. Really nice season for the Hurricanes. They did a nice job in an ACC that's not great, but does certainly have quality teams in there. A little bit mixed results. A Michigan transfer, Trey Donaldson's on the team as well. I don't know if I mentioned that, but he's the point guard. He was the point guard at Michigan last year. Pretty top-heavy team. It doesn't substitute a whole lot. It is what it is there. It's funny that they're efficient on offense. They don't shoot a ton of threes. So you would see Purdue, if it gets Miami, getting a very different style of basketball there on a quick turnaround. Obviously, Miami would too from playing Missouri, who isn't great. It's a bubble team. It wound up getting a 10 seed. One of the common refrains I saw, because I'm sure a lot of you are like me and you can't get enough of this stuff. So I'm listening to all the podcasts, all of the bracket breakdowns, that Missouri might have been a little fortunate to get a 10 seed. I don't know. It was a middle-of-the-pack SEC team. Mark Mitchell's the only name I really know. He was a 2-year starter at Duke. Now he's a 2-year starter at Mizzou. It's not a great defensive team. It turns the ball over a lot. But Mizzou got a great break here where it gets to play in St. Louis for the opening weekend. If I had to guess, there's going to be a lot of Missouri fans inside the Enterprise Center on Friday night. So how much of a difference does that make? We'll find out. But if I had to guess, Miami wins that game. And at that point, Purdue will play Miami or Mizzou if it goes the other way. Miami doesn't have a ton of really big-time wins on its resume. It also doesn't have a lot of horrible losses. So you'd be looking at a competitive game there, without a doubt. Once you get out of that first round, every game's going to be a battle for you. And Miami is a quality opponent that you've really got to respect there if Purdue gets on to the round of 32. This episode is brought to you by me. Yes, me. When I'm not watching sports, or more accurately, talking about them, I'm talking insurance with the people of Indiana. As an agent with Indiana Farm Bureau Insurance, I want to help you protect what you've worked hard to achieve. From home and auto to life and business insurance, I'm here to help you. Give me a call at 317-846-5861 or email me, jordan.jones@infarmbureau.com. Let's protect you from life's everyday risks. As a whole, you look at the NCAA tournament and you're automatically looking, hey, how did you get a good draw? Did they get a bad draw? If you ask me, I think Purdue got an all right draw here. Getting a 2 seed was reflective of a really nice finish for Purdue. The selection committee clearly valued the Big Ten tournament. That is something that has been questioned in years past, and rightfully so. Last year, I remember Michigan getting a 5 seed when there was a lot of speculation that it would get a 4, maybe even a 3 after it won the Big Ten tournament. I don't know. I can't speak year to year. I'm not in the room, but Purdue clearly got a nice benefit, and the selection committee chair even said as much on the selection show. He said that Purdue was an 11 seed, was the 11th overall seed, and then jumped up to number 8 to get the last 2 seed after it took down Michigan in the conference championship game. So a really nice spot for Purdue there to get that 2 seed. To be honest here, I don't know how big of an advantage it is for Purdue to go to St. Louis. Yes, it is the most geographically geographically friendly location. It is the closest one to West Lafayette. It is still a 4-hour drive from Chicago, from Indianapolis, where I would assume those are Purdue's 2 largest alumni bases. It's a Friday evening. They can certainly get there. Purdue fans have turned out really well on the road a lot this year, but competitive tickets there. If you're looking at all session tickets, you're looking at Kentucky fans who would travel to Mars to go watch the Big Blue. You're looking at Iowa State fans who travel well and are very fired up about their Cyclones this year, as they should be. Obviously, Missouri is in the state and is going to have a good turnout, so we'll see what it looks like. I don't know that this is some type of Purdue takeover, but I don't know that that's the biggest deal either. This team is weird. None of its best games have come at home in front of a home crowd. It's played better on the road and at neutral sites. And it's the same deal with the West region. If you get to the Sweet 16 Elite 8, you go out west to San Jose. But again, Purdue's been fine. Maybe Purdue's best performance of the season was in the Bahamas in a ballroom when it just obliterated Texas Tech when it still had JT Toppin. So I don't know. I don't know what to expect from that standpoint, but I don't think there's much to gripe about here. As you look down the bracket on Purdue's bottom half of the region there, Gonzaga's a question mark. Braden Huff has missed the last 8 weeks, thereabouts, and he's doubtful for the first round. I don't know if Gonzaga's going to get him back. If he does come back, is he remotely 100%? I have no idea. That, to me, feels like a really big question mark with Gonzaga. It's a good team, but it doesn't feel like as elite of a Gonzaga team as they've had in some of the years past. It hasn't had the same level of competition that it's had in some years. There were some years where Gonzaga would just play murderer's row in the non-conference, and some of it wasn't Gonzaga's fault. It schedules Maryland, it schedules Oregon, it schedules Arizona State, Creighton, Oklahoma, teams that just didn't turn out to be all that good. But it picked up a loss at Portland in league play, who's outside of the top 200 in KenPom. It lost its last ever game against St. Mary's in the league. It's 30-3. This is still a really good Gonzaga team, but I think that's probably a favorable 3-seed path. BYU is an unknown at the 6-seed spot. It was pacing to be much better than a 6-seed before Richie Saunders tore his ACL. He was just shy of a 20-point-a-game scorer for them. Really, really nice player. It's a real shame for BYU that he got hurt. That's just brutal. Purdue fans know that all too well, having injuries this time of year. But they've got A.J. Debinsa. And when you have A.J. Debinsa, you have a chance. He is likely to be the number 1 pick in the NBA draft, it sounds like. Going to be him or Darren Peterson. He's awesome. He is absolutely awesome. He is a great, great player. And when you have those elite players in the NCAA tournament, they can rise up. Purdue fans know that well with Carson Edwards. Anything is possible with those guys. But again, when the 6th seed is dealing with injuries and didn't close the season particularly strong, it lost 3 of its last 4 in the regular season. It only won 4 regular season games from January 26th on. It's only won 6 games since January 26th. That's not great. It's not a great defensive team. I think you probably like this setup. And then if you get to the regional final and you're in the Elite 8 and you play Arizona, wonderful. You've gotten to that point. You're happy to be there. You want to get to the Final Four. Don't get me wrong here. You're in for a massive test. But hear me out here. This isn't a 7-game series where attrition starts to take place and averages start to even out. This is a 1-game deal. And if you are in a 1-game deal against a team that doesn't shoot many 3-pointers, the math can tilt in your favor rather quickly. What if you get hot? What if Purdue comes out in a hypothetical game against Arizona and hits a bunch of threes early on, and Arizona isn't really a team that's equipped to fight back from the three-point line? It's great. It's 32-2. It won the Big 12 regular season. It won the Big 12 tournament. The team is awesome. It's in the top 5 in both offensive and defensive efficiency. Even though it doesn't shoot threes, it's still a hyper-efficient offense, which is even harder to do when you don't shoot threes. But it's big, it defends really well, it rebounds really well. But again, you're in a one-game spot there. Let the ball roll out there and see how it goes. Arizona's far from a given to get there. Wisconsin and Arkansas are up on that side of the bracket in the 4-5. And man, if you want to talk about an awesome basketball game, I myself, just as a basketball fan, am rooting for Arkansas and Wisconsin to win in the first round, because that second round matchup could be incredible. Darius Acuff going up against those two Wisconsin guards, that could be really, really fun. I think this is a decent region for Purdue. I do. I think this is set up nicely for Purdue to make it out of the first weekend. A second round matchup won't be a layup, but Purdue is a better team than both Miami and Missouri. If Purdue continues to defend like it did in the Big Ten tournament, and if it executes as well on offense as it did in the Big Ten tournament, it's going to play Arizona with a real chance of going to the Final Four. And of course, if you get to the Final Four, you're coming home. You're back home again in Indiana in front of what would be a huge Purdue crowd in Lucas Oil Stadium. It would really be something. It really would be something. It would be a bit of a storybook ending for these seniors. We'll see. I don't know what to expect. Conference tournament play can generate a lot of momentum. I remember last year when Michigan was really struggling down the stretch in the regular season, and then it won the Big Ten tournament, and it was a really popular upset pick that UC San Diego was going to beat Michigan. And then if Michigan won that, it was surely going to lose to Texas A&M. It didn't. It got to the Sweet 16. And I don't remember if it played Florida, if it played Auburn. I don't remember who Michigan played, but it was able to ride that wave a little bit. This Purdue team is definitely better than last year's Michigan team was. I know the Big Ten tournament can take a toll on you, but I don't think there are any real red flags about Purdue right now. From an effort perspective, from an energy perspective, it was wonderful. And it goes into this NCAA tournament, and the sky's the limit, man. You saw Clark Kellogg on the selection show pick Purdue to win the whole thing. John Rothstein picked Purdue to win the whole thing. I was listening to Greg Peterson's podcast earlier. He picked Purdue to win the whole thing. When the brackets go live on Thursday and in the Boilers and Beyond bracket group, you can see who everyone picked. You'll see who I have. I'm siding with Rothstein. I'm siding with Clark Kellogg. I think Purdue's got a really, really good chance to go do it all here. As you look across the country, Michigan has not been the same team without LJ Kaysen. Duke has a couple of key injuries. Arizona and Florida have their flaws as one seeds, even if they're really good. There is nobody that Purdue could line up with right now, and I wouldn't think Purdue has a really good chance to beat. Not with the way Purdue played in the Big Ten tournament. If that gets replicated, Purdue is capable of beating anyone in the country here in the NCAA tournament. I get the same question every year. What makes this all a success? And I genuinely believe this. If Purdue can get to the Elite Eight, whatever happens, happens. I think you have to be really pleased with that, especially if it's against Arizona. Now, if you go to the Elite Eight and you were to fall to a 4 or 5 seed, then you're not feeling as good about things, naturally. I think you have to really feel good about that. I think it's really hard to deem everything a failure with a Big Ten tournament title and Elite Eight appearance. Falling short of the Elite Eight would be a real disappointment, especially with what you saw Purdue be capable of last week. But it's the tournament, man. It's the tournament. You have no idea what you're getting in this. It is the greatest event in sports. It is the best spectator event in the world. There is nothing better than those first 2 days of the tournament. When you are sitting on your couch and you have nonstop action from noon to after midnight, it is awesome. There is genuinely nothing better in this world than the first 2 days of the NCAA tournament. But crazy things happen all the time, and it can make average to disappointing seasons seem awesome. It can make awesome seasons feel like complete failures. It is harsh. It is cruel. I got no idea. Again, though, I think it's a big deal that Purdue won the Big Ten tournament. You have an accomplishment for this season done, and now your whole focus goes to getting out of this first weekend, getting into an Elite Eight matchup with Arizona, and then coming back home and playing for a Final Four. I genuinely think if the whole guard play wins in March narrative is true, and I do think there's something to that, how many backcourts in the country are you taking over Purdue's? I mean, really. Braden Smith is going to break the NCAA all-time assist record against Queens on Friday. Fletcher Lawyer is the leading three-point shooter in school history. Purdue's gotten some really good play from C.J. Cox and Jakari Harris lately. Omer Meyer looks more and more comfortable as the season goes along. You've got good front court play. You're rebounding well. You're taking care of the basketball. That's a massive thing, man. You look at these upsets in the past, and I don't want to sit here and just beat on the upsets of past years, but when Purdue lost to St. Peter's and when Purdue lost to FDU, it turned the ball over a ton. It had 11 turnovers against North Texas back in 2021. That's what does you in. In games like this, that is what does you in. You turn the ball over too much. You give the underdog life. Purdue turned it over 18 times against Little Rock back in the day. That's what does it. If Purdue takes care of the basketball, it just puts itself in that much better of a position to not fall victim to anything and find itself playing deep into this event. This is obviously a really big moment for Purdue's senior class. This is their last chance to stamp their legacy, one that has been really incredible. You can certainly make the argument that this is the best senior class in Purdue history. I believe a trip to the Elite Eight would get them past Caleb First as the winningest players in Purdue history, because Purdue won 29 games First's freshman year. So Purdue's at 27-8 right now. They can become the winningest players in school history, a record that has been broken a lot recently. But you know, it's a really good senior class that got itself a really nice bounce back in the Big Ten tournament after vibes were pretty low going into it. It's a chance for them to continue what they did, because in the Big Ten tournament, those four guys were unbelievable. I know there are only 5 players on the all-tournament team. You could have made a case for all 4 of Purdue's seniors to be on there. You probably could have made a case for almost all 4 of them to be the most outstanding player. It was a awesome, awesome event for those guys, and you don't want to take too much from media availability, but they sure look like they're not content to just win the Big Ten tournament. They're ready to go do more. It comes down to continuing what Purdue's done, and I'll say this, and it segues me into the final thing that I got asked about here. Foul trouble is always your biggest concern, right? Purdue doesn't have a ton of front court depth, and you almost saw it get Purdue against Michigan, right? It didn't end up biting Purdue, but one earlier foul on Oscar Clough, and that game could go the other way. It's a tricky thing. Purdue does have to be delicate there, because it's a game on the margins in the NCAA tournament. It comes down to turnovers. It comes down to foul trouble. And I had a question about Daniel Jacobson and how much he plays in the NCAA tournament. And look, I think you got your answer in the Big Ten tournament, right? He has not been playing many minutes for Purdue recently. He is, limited right now. He's had his struggles recently. It hasn't been the season he hoped for. I mean, he plays 5 minutes in the game at Northwestern. He plays 4 against Nebraska in the Big Ten tournament. He plays 3 against Michigan. Purdue needed him a little bit more in the UCLA game. Purdue got a little bit more rest in the Northwestern game. But I think you have your answer as to how much he's going to play. If Purdue gets into foul trouble, it's going to need him. Probably early in the first half, you may see Purdue try to steal a few minutes of rest for its big guys, but you ride and die with your best players in the NCAA tournament. It is what it is. Your guys got you there. Those are the guys that are going to get you to the next level. In the NCAA tournament, it is very rarely a unsung guy that comes out and goes on the runs. It's very rarely the unsung guy that becomes the legend. It's happened, but it doesn't happen all that often. Your stars got you here, and now Purdue needs its stars to carry it across the finish line and get it into the second weekend, get it into the Final Four in Indianapolis. I think this is going to be a really fun tournament, guys. I am very eager to see what the results are in the double-digit seed games. I've seen some stats today about the growing disparity in these teams. The point spreads are higher. It's reflective of the era of college basketball. It is impossible for mid-majors to keep their best players. In the past, you would look, hey, this team is the Horizon League champs, and all 5 of their starters are seniors that have played together forever. Those were the teams you'd look for. That doesn't exist anymore. I'm very curious to see how that plays out. A lot of folks are predicting chalk, but the one thing about the NCAA tournament that we all know is come Thursday at noon, all of it gets thrown out the window. The game is no longer played on paper. The ball gets rolled out there, and we see how it goes. So that's what I've got for today. We'll see. I may do a quick podcast on Saturday to talk about Purdue Queens. I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. We'll see how much interesting there is to say about that if Purdue is able to do what it wants to do and gets past that game easily. But we will be back to talk about everything from Purdue in the NCAA tournament. Follow the show on Twitter at BoilersBeyond. Come join the conversation there. We're going to have fun this week. Join the Bracket Challenge. Link is in the episode notes. And I will talk to you guys soon. Enjoy the madness, everybody. Take care.